Summertime. It's here. I'm so here for it. I am a summer girl through and through. Sunshine, long days, barbecuing, days out on the lake, all the things, outdoor summer concerts. Check the boxes. I am so here for it. But guess what else is an awesome thing to do in the summer? Buy and sell real estate. You might think it's not, but let's jump in and have conversation about all the reasons why it might be perfect for you. Let's dive in.
You're listening to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in. It's summertime in Minnesota. It's for sure my favorite time of the year. And I love warm weather. I love the long days. I love everything there is about summer in Minnesota. And I'm wondering if you feel the same way. But let's talk about what's happening in the real estate market in Minnesota. This is Beth. I'm doing a solo episode this week, and I'm talking all about summer real estate market update and what you can expect, trends that we're seeing here on the BPR experience, and ways to really take advantage of buying a home in the summer. So let's get into it. Interest rates are a little underwhelming right now. Let's just call it what it is. The Fed teased us last year, at the end of last year, and they said they were going to make a bunch of rate cuts. And so far, that's not panning out. The job numbers, the inflation numbers, like all of these important numbers that all of the financial gurus are looking at are not pointing us in the direction of any rate cuts right now. So it is what it is. But the great news is that interest rates are down like a point to a point and a half from their highs of 2023. That's the highest that we had seen interest rates over 8% at the end of last year. And if you had any listings like we did, it really slowed down the buyer activity, so much so that we ended up taking 2 listings off the market just because the sellers were not in positions where they had to sell. So they're like, instead of taking a bath on this and making less money than we were planning to make, we're just going to take the house off the market for right now. And I completely appreciate that. So it's good news that interest rates are back down into the 6s if you're just doing a normal type conventional FHA, VA type loan. So that's great news. People's buying power has shot up considerably from what it was last fall. What we are seeing, though, is in 2023, inventory was at an all-time low. And we've been saying this for a long time. Like, I can recall sitting in a Tom Ferry seminar like 8-9 years ago, and they were saying, we're at an inventory crisis. We do not have enough homes to sell. And I remember sitting in a conference, and I think it was a Tom Ferry one, where one of the experts said, it's going to take us 5 years to get inventory back to a balanced market. Well, the problem is inventory has not ticked up at a normal rate. So like we haven't seen like this cyclical real estate cycle like we normally see, especially here in the Midwest. We've been in a strong seller's market and it just keeps getting stronger for like 10 years. And we aren't getting, there'll be little ebbs and flows where inventory ticks up, but we don't have anywhere near the amount of inventory. So that prediction that I can't even remember who said it, that it would take 5 years to get us back to a balanced market. Well, we're not anywhere near that. Like that 5 years hasn't even started ticking because we have such a deficit of homes for sale. And what happened like when we were during COVID is that interest rates were so low. Every buyer that could buy a home bought a home. Like, why would you not when interest rates are in the 3%? But now what we're seeing is sellers that have interest rates in the 2, 3, maybe even a 4%. They're like, I'm not going to sell if I don't have to sell. Like, why would I do that? Because I don't want to sell my house with a 3% interest rate and then have to buy a new house in the 6s. So while sellers are living in homes that don't serve them that well anymore, a lot of sellers are just staying put and just saying, if I don't have to sell, I'm not going to sell. So I think we're seeing a whole bunch of different things in motion. When interest rates start ticking down and sellers are able to like justify, like, yes, I'm going to give up my 3% interest rate, but I'm okay having like an interest rate in the 5s at this point. I think we're going to see a lot more inventory hitting the market. When is that going to happen? Not sure. Interest rates back in the 5s, that is probably going to be sometime later this year, probably into 2025. I think we are hoping for all of that at the end of 2024, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that until 2025. So that's, just some interesting nuances. One of the big catch-22s with interest rates when they drop, and the number is that when interest rates drop a full point, so let's say today interest rates are 6.75. If interest rates drop to 5.75, so if we see a full point drop in interest rate, that will bring 5 million buyers out of the woodwork. So when the market shifts and interest rates drop a point and 5 million buyers get off the fence, what is that going to do? It's going to make homes more affordable, yes. But on the flip side of that, it's going to cause more multiple offers. And there is so much pent up buyer demand right now that when interest rates start dropping, I think it's going to cause mass chaos again. And there'll be mega multiple offers, which means home prices generally go up. One of my lenders I talked to this week, he said he thinks the Fed are going to drop rates in September and November. So that's something to look forward to. But I think there are some great wins to be had in summer markets. So here are a couple of my big things. Holiday weekends. So this podcast is coming out. This is June 3rd when you're listening to this. And we have the 4th of July. We've got Labor Day. Like, holiday weekends are great weekends to score deals on homes. Why? Because half of the city is out of town. If you live in the Midwest, especially if you live here in Minnesota, people love living their best lake life, cabin life. Summers are so cherished because they're so short here in the Midwest. Everybody is out on the boat, on the lake, at the cabin, like doing all those things. And there are some deals to be had. So if sellers have their homes on the market this time of year, it means they want to sell, which is awesome. And if buyers are out looking this time of year, it generally means they're serious and they want to buy. Last year, 4th of July weekend, I had an online lead reach out and say, hey, we want to see a house. And we realized it's a holiday weekend. It was actually the 4th of July. And they're like, we don't have anything going on. And I'm like, I didn't have anything going on till later in the day. I said, if we can meet early in the morning, it works for me. And it was one of those holiday weekends. It was so freaking hot. It was like 100 degrees, in the shade. So I'm like, yeah, let's meet at 9 a.m. We toured a home. The home was vacant. So it worked out really well. And like that home was a screaming deal. Sellers had already moved out. So the home is vacant and the sellers wanted to sell. It didn't end up being the right house for the buyers, but had they wanted to move forward on that house, they could have gotten a hell of a deal. The agent was like, on me. Agent happened to be the seller. He's like, we want an offer. What can we do to make this happen? What can we do to put the offer together? So there's some great deals to be had on holiday weekend. So that's something to consider. It's interesting what the experts say when I'm like doing research for all the podcasts. Adam, which is a reputable, real estate source said May is the worst month to find a deal on a home, which is so interesting because all of the homes that our team got under contract in May, every single one of them we got for under asking price. Yeah. Shocking, right? Every single one we were able to negotiate. We had an appraisal come in low. So one wrote a purchase agreement at asking price and asked the seller to pay 3%. So we got a 3% reduction right there. And then appraisal came in low. And we said, buyer only has just a few bucks to throw in. Seller ate the remainder. On an as-is purchase, we came in way under. We wrote a purchase agreement for way under, and the seller's like, no, we're not really interested. And then they circled back a week later, and they're like, well, maybe we're interested. And then the deal sort of died on the vine. And then a week later, my buyer's like, I might still have interest in that property if I can get it for X amount of dollars. And so we went back to the agent because the property had not gone under contract like we thought that it would, and went back to the agent, and the agent's like, let me check with the seller and see. She came back and said, heck yeah, we'll take it. And it was one of those sort of like as is sales, I'm doing air quotes, as is. But we did our due diligence. It had an inspection and there were several things. It was a property that needed work. And so my buyer was fully aware of certain things that needed to be done and took on the responsibility of the sewer needing some repairs. But my buyer said, okay, after doing the inspection, now there's like 3 more things that I was not accounting for. And, I just clearly laid that out in the email to the agent. I said, I realize this probably feels like a bait and switch to you. However, this is the reason why we do inspections, because there are only certain things that we can see with the naked eye, doing a home and, doing a showing. So the inspection uncovered things, and there are additional expenses that the buyer was not accounting for. And the buyer would like to change the price. And we asked for a $10,000 price reduction. And the agent came back and said, fine, we'll agree to it. I'm like, yay! So we got the house for way under asking initially. And I think they started at $475. We wrote an offer at $410 and actually were able to get the house at $400. So that was like a huge coup. But it's interesting that, a lot of these experts are saying that, this might not be a good time to buy a house, but our buyers are getting deals. Oh, here's another one that we had. There was a house that was coming soon. It had a really long runway of coming soon, like, 2.5 weeks, which that's not how I market properties, but every agent gets to do it how they want to do it. I don't know why they did such a long runway on this one. And my buyer said, this checks all the boxes. Can we make an offer sight unseen? And I'm like, well, if I was a listing agent, I would say no. But also if I was a listing agent, I wouldn't have it coming soon for 2.5 weeks. So I'm like, answer is always no until we ask. So let me go ask. So I reached out to the agent and said, hey, would you guys consider a sight unseen offer with a short inspection period? So then if the deal didn't work out, you would still be on the market in the time that you were still planning to be on the market. And the listing agent, he's like, well, in this situation with these particular sellers, it might actually work. He's like, send an offer over and I'll see what happens. So I sent an offer over just at asking price. No, we didn't go over. We just did a conservative asking price offer. And the agent, it took a few days. He was traveling. He is old school. There's 2 sellers, 2 brothers that sounds like they're not really seeing eye to eye. So there was a lot, so there were some extra nuances to the deal that wouldn't normally be in the transaction. They came back with a signed purchase agreement. They didn't come back to negotiate it. They didn't do anything. And I'm like, I was actually flabbergasted. Reached out to the buyers and I'm like, guess what? You just bought a house. I'm shocked, actually, but you just bought a house. And then we went to the inspection. We were kind of expecting the worst. And I'm like, well, there's a good chance they're going to see this house and be like, well, it's not quite what we were thinking. They saw the house and they're like, oh my God, it's so much better than we had actually anticipated. And There you go. We didn't have to compete in multiple offers, and it's a price point that is super competitive. And we've lost out on several multiple offers because the buyers have not been willing to just go all out with their offer. So I always say, you never know. The answer is always no until we ask. So why not? Like, I'm working on behalf of my buyers. Why would I not go and just ask the question? Answer might be no, but there's a 50% chance that the answer is going to be yes. So we've seen some incredible wins. And I think a lot of this has to do with our spring market is that it was so warm all winter long. We never really had that lull. I feel like the lull that we had in the market was last fall when interest rates were high. But then when interest rates started coming back down, all of a sudden buyers are just coming out of the woodwork. And usually like that new time frame is Super Bowl weekend and beyond. And the market has been really good. We're not seeing crazy mega multiple offers on any of our listings right now, but good showings, good traffic, great open houses. And we are seeing multiple offers, but they're a little bit more conservative than what we had been seeing. But an offer with a great solid price and getting to the closing table, a lot of cash offers right now. We're seeing a ton of wins. So one of the other great places where I'm seeing great values, and I have so many buyers are like, oh, I'm just waiting for the market to crash. And I'm like, you know what? There is absolutely nothing out there that says that the market is going to crash. In fact, people that have been sitting on the fence waiting and waiting and waiting, home prices just keep going up. That's the fact. It doesn't matter. Even when interest rates were higher, home prices were still going up in many parts of the country. And we've never really seen any big dips here in the Midwest. So if buying a home is on your radar, then now's a good time to buy a home. As long as it's affordable, as long as you're not feeling pressure to do it. Rents are going up too. So I just had a lot of people like, we're just tired of being renters. Like, this is exhausting. We're flushing money away. We just would love to get in the game and buy a home. One of my favorite places to score a deal right now is new construction. I've been saying this for a while, and I'm still going to say it because it's still a really, really good deal. Many of the big, production builders, let's call them. Production builders are national builders like the Lennar, the D.R. Horton, the M.I. Home, the Pulte, the David Weekley, the builders that you see signs. You go to, like when I'm in Arizona at my in-laws, I'm seeing many of the same big national builder signs around. These builders are switching to a model where they're doing more spec homes, meaning homes where they pick the lot, they pick the house, the floor plan that goes on the lot. They pick out all of the finishings in the home, and they have designers. Like, all these builders have really, really talented designers on staff. So are they going to pick really like wild and edgy stuff? No, heck no. That doesn't work for their business model, but they're going to pick stuff that really appeals to the masses. You know, we're seeing white kitchens, a lot of black heart fixtures, gold, really nice LVP flooring, cool things in bathrooms and beautiful vanities, some warm wood tones. We're seeing less of that like gross gray, that really cool blue tone gray. We're seeing less of that. Thank God. That color is so depressing. It feels like you're in a doctor's office. We are seeing so much less of that. But these spec homes, when a builder finishes a spec home and all of a sudden it's ready, they've got the certificate of occupancy and it's on the market and ready to go, the builder starts getting heat to get that inventory off their books. That is the whole entire goal. They do not want to be carrying the cost of a completed, finished home that's move-in ready once it's done. And so there are so many deals to be had. And the longer those homes sit on the market, the better the deals. Deals like reducing the price, deals like offering closing cost credits, things like washers and dryers, water softeners, blinds, like refrigerators, like all the appliances. Builders start just throwing all these things in order to get a buyer to take action. I've had some buyers score some super awesome deals the last couple of years buying inventory homes that are all ready to go. So if you're looking for a deal and you want to save money on, get a new construction home, but then save money on closing costs, save money on your interest rate potentially, the deals are awesome. Right now, I know like D.R. Horton in our area here in the Twin Cities is offering awesome promotions with interest rates in the 5s. So if you are complaining that you're like, I don't want to buy a house with interest rates in the 6s, I can completely appreciate that. Then you should be considering new construction, because any perk that the builder gives you, you can use that to buy the interest rate down. So if you use the builder's title company and lender, then that's when you're going to get the most amount of benefits. Their lenders are great lenders. Our title companies are great. These big national companies, they have to be. But D.R. Horton, for instance, one of our lender reps sent out an email last week that said interest rates in the 5s and then still getting $10,000 towards closing costs. And spec homes, they're doing all the bells and whistles. And if they say they don't, make sure you're there with an agent. Many times, this is the other little caveat, that if you go tour a model home and you don't have your agent with you and you want to bring your agent in after the fact, some builders do not allow that, i.e. Lennar. They do not allow that. So make sure, if that's something that you want to do and you want to tour new construction homes, make sure that you have your agent with on that first visit so your agent can advocate on your behalf. A lot of times when I walk into the sales offices, they'll say, yep, no, we don't have any other promotions. Okay. And then you write a purchase agreement and you're like, okay, now we'd like to add this and this and this and washer, dryer and blinds. And we would like this and we would like an additional price reduction. And they hem and haw about it. But many times they just say, okay, we're going to make it happen. So new construction, absolutely where the deal is right now. Holiday weekends, absolutely. So many people are out of town. Buyers are serious this time of year. Sellers are serious this time of year if they're on the market. It's where you're going to score some deals. A few weeks back on the podcast, we had Heidi Welch from Minnesota Housing on, and she talked about the First Gen Loan Program, which is like a down payment assistance program where buyers, if a buyer is a first-time buyer and their parents have never purchased a home, there's a few nuances to the program. A buyer can qualify for up to $35,000 on a loan. So it's a loan that's an interest-only loan. There is no payment on the loan, but there is a repayment. So you have to live in the house for up to 20 years for it to be completely forgivable. But if that is something that can get you into a home, that's a great option too. And it was interesting. Heidi talked about so many different resources out there for down payment assistance programs, and different cities have them. The state has them. There's grants, there's down payment money. So that's other things to check out. I have lenders that really specialize in those programs. So if down payment is something that's keeping you from moving forward, don't let that be your excuse to not buy a home right now. I can put you in touch with a lender that can see if any of those programs would be a good fit for you. So there's a lot of wins happening right now, a lot. And if buying a home this summer makes sense for you, then I think you should buy a home. One of the first things I always say, you and I need to have a conversation, of course, but then let me put you in touch with a lender and make sure that your finances are where they need to be, that you're comfortable with the payment, that it makes sense, that we can get you out of your lease, that moving up, the move up buyer, the move down buyer, that all of this makes sense for your current scenario. But there are some deals to be had if the timing is right for you. So reach out. Would love to have a conversation with you if you are just kind of spitballing what this looks like to buy or sell a home this summer. Sellers are still seeing multiple offers and buyers are still seeing wins too. So there are so many incredible things happening in the marketplace. And at the end of the day, real estate is an incredible tool to build wealth and generational wealth, in addition to just being a roof over your head. So reach out anytime. Would love to chat about the market and any of the topics that we talk about on the podcast. Love chatting all things real estate. So until next time, bus bench babes, keep your face off a bus bench and keep being the badass boss babes that you are.
Okay, girls, are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.